North Korea has notified Japan that it'll launch a reconnaissance satellite sometime between tomorrow and the 1st of December. South Korea's military says this could take place early Wednesday morning. President Yoon Suk-yeol is set to ink the Downing Street Accord with UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak during his state visit to the UK on cooperation in high-tech areas and the first joint sanctions against Pyongyang. Hamas says a truce deal with Israel is approaching. Eyes are on whether this could turn the tide of the nearly 2-month-long war. It's November 21st, 2023. This is News Center. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. North Korea notified Japan this morning that it'll launch its military reconnaissance satellite, which failed twice earlier, sometime between tomorrow and December 1st. This could take place possibly early tomorrow morning. Eyes are on whether the third launch attempt would be a success, given Russia's alleged involvement. Defense correspondent Choi Min-jung has our top story.
South Korea's defense ministry is closely looking into the possibility of North Korea's third attempt to launch a military spy satellite on November 22nd.
During the first and second launch attempts, they took place on the first day of the notice period, more specifically at dawn. We are considering that possibility, and we would also have to take the weather into consideration.
On Tuesday, North Korea notified Japan that it will attempt to send a military reconnaissance satellite into space sometime between November 22nd and December 1st. Pyongyang's failed twice before, once in May and once in August. But what's different this time is that the North is presumed to have received help from Russia. During their summit held in September, Putin promised Kim help in developing a spy satellite. A South Korean military official said Tuesday that Russian support was likely used to improve the engines, which was what led to failures in the previous attempts.
The possibility of success may be a little higher, and we must also note that there was a little more progress in the second launch than in the first.
Some experts do say, however, that Russia's involvement in the latest launch is not as dramatic as expected.
It seems likely that Russian engineers provided some advice based on data they looked at. But I don't think we can say that Russian technology is directly involved given the short development time.
The military said that the launch itself poses a threat to security, regardless of whether the launch turns out to be a success or not. It again emphasized that the launch is a clear violation of UN Security Council resolutions, which ban North Korean missile launches using ballistic missile technology. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
And this has prompted talks between the top nuclear envoys of South Korea, the US, and Japan, demanding that Pyongyang halt the satellite launch. The South Korean government once again says it'll take necessary measures should it happen. Our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Jong-shin reports.
Top nuclear envoys of South Korea, the US, and Japan talked over the phone on Tuesday and decided to strongly demand that Pyongyang stop the launch of a military reconnaissance satellite. South Korea's Special Representative for Korean Peninsula Peace and Security Affairs, Kim Gun, talked with his US and Japanese counterparts Chung Bak and Namazu Hiroyuki and confirmed that any launch by North Korea using ballistic missile technology, even if it was used for a satellite, is a clear violation of UN Security Council resolutions. The officials also reaffirmed that they would work closely with each other to strengthen regional deterrence and response capabilities, including security cooperation. An official from South Korea's Ministry of Unification also told reporters the same day that the ministry will take necessary follow-up measures regarding the North's official announcement of the third attempt to launch the reconnaissance satellite. The official said the launch was a clear violation of UN Security Council resolutions and a provocative action seriously threatening regional security. He added that South Korea, the US, and Japan would work closely against Pyongyang's provocations. Meanwhile, the U.S. Department of State expressed its concerns on Monday local time over possible military cooperation between North Korea and Russia. He said Moscow would be violating UNSC resolutions that Russia itself voted for, and added that the country should not supply North Korea with technology that would violate the resolutions. Concerns over possible technology cooperation surfaced when North Korean leader Kim Jong-un met with Russian President Vladimir Putin in September at a rocket launch facility in Russia's Far East. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
The North Korean hacking group known as Kimchi was found to have hacked the email accounts of 1,468 South Koreans from March to October this year, marking a 34-fold increase compared to last year. According to South Korea's National Police Agency on Tuesday, among the hacked include 57 experts in the fields of diplomacy and security, as well as former high-ranking government officials. The agency explained the motive behind the recent attacks is the North Korean cybercrime group's attempt to steal cryptocurrency, as the scope of the targets has expanded to civilians. The police said no confidential information was stolen. Over in the UK, President Yoon Suk-yeol landed in London on Monday afternoon for his state visit. He is set to ink the Downing Street Accord with UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak for cooperation in high-tech areas and the first joint sanctions against Pyongyang. Correspondent Oh Soo-young gives us a preview.
South Korea and the United Kingdom will upgrade their relations to a global strategic partnership upon President Yoon Suk-yeol's state visit this week, issuing high-tech areas of cooperation and the first joint sanctions action against North Korea's security threat. Yoon's office said Monday that Seoul and London will adopt the Downing Street Accord, setting out deeper cooperation in future trade and innovation upon 140 years of bilateral ties. Speaking to Korean expats at a banquet on Monday, shortly after touchdown, the South Korean leader hinted that the accord would expand cooperation in trade and cutting-edge sectors, as he stressed that the two countries are partners in the universal values of freedom, human rights and the rule of law.
저의 이번 방문을 통해 한영 양국은 사이버 안보와 방위 산업 등 안보 분야의 협력 체계를 새롭게 구축해 나갈 것입니다. 뿐만 아니라 한영 FTA 개정 협상을 다시 시작해서 공급망과 교역의 협력 기반을 더욱 공고하게 다져 나갈 것입니다.
This includes agreements on strengthening supply chains and joint research in critical high-tech areas such as semiconductors, artificial intelligence and quantum technology, as the two countries seek new growth engines and economic security amid trade and global uncertainties. The two countries also plan to strengthen their capabilities to respond to cyber threats by concluding a strategic cyber partnership, as well as expanding joint training and promoting joint maritime patrols to enforce UN Security Council sanctions against North Korea. This will be the first time that South Korea and the UK have performed joint operations to enforce sanctions on Pyongyang. The two countries will also pen a document on defence industry cooperation, space and clean energy. Furthermore, the Downing Street Accord will express their joint views on global affairs, including North Korea's nuclear threat, conflicts in the Middle East and Ukraine, and security in the Indo-Pacific. In addition, the two governments will agree to strengthen multilateralism and the rules-based international order through institutions like the UN Security Council, G20 and G7.
President Yoon's state visit will mark another 100-year leap forward in bilateral ties, which have shown a history of deep cooperation and solidarity since the first Treaty of Amity and Commerce was signed in 1883.
President Yoon's first official day of the visit begins on Tuesday. He and First Lady Kim Gon-hee will receive the full royal treatment, a guard of honour followed by a welcoming reception and lunch at Buckingham Palace. The first couple will also pay their respects to Korean war veterans and the grave of the unknown warrior at Westminster Abbey.
While reflecting on the past, President Yoon will set out a more comprehensive future partnership between the two liberal democracies based on their shared values, as he delivers a speech in English to members of both houses of parliament.
His meeting with UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak on Wednesday and various economic engagements, including a business forum and a roundtable of scientific minds, will put the future bilateral partnership into motion. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, London.
Hamas and Israel may soon reach a truce agreement, according to the chief of the Palestinian militant group. This has been echoed by U.S. President Joe Biden earlier, saying a deal to secure the release of hostages is closer. Chung Eun-ju with the details.
The chief of Hamas told Reuters in a statement on Tuesday that the militant organization was close to reaching a truce agreement with Israel, and the group has delivered a response to Qatari negotiators. According to Reuters, Qatari mediators have been leading negotiations that could potentially lead to the release of 50 hostages in exchange for a 3-day ceasefire and further aid for Gaza. A Hamas official also recently told Al Jazeera TV that negotiations were centered on how long the truce would last, arrangements for delivery of aid into Gaza, and the exchange of Israeli hostages held by Hamas for Palestinian prisoners in Israel. Both sides would free women and children, with details being announced by Qatar. Around 240 hostages were taken during a deadly attack on Israel by Hamas on October 7th. The ferocity of the attack, which killed around 1,200 people, prompted Israel to invade the Gaza Strip. Since then, Gaza's Hamas-run government said at least 13,300 Palestinians have been killed, including at least 5,600 children and 3,550 women by an Israeli bombardment. Talk of such imminent hostage deal has been circulating for days. U.S. President Joe Biden and other U.S. officials said on Monday while speaking to reporters that a deal to secure the release of hostages being held by Hamas is close. Meanwhile, Israeli operations against Hamas in Gaza have put the spotlight on medical facilities within the enclave, with hospitals suffering power cuts and a lack of medical supplies. According to health officials in Gaza, at least 12 people were killed at the Indonesian hospital in northeastern Gaza on Sunday night after it was hit by artillery rounds. The IDF says it took action after being fired upon from the facility. 28 prematurely born babies evacuated from Gaza's biggest hospital, Al-Shifa, were taken into Egypt for urgent treatment on Monday. Chung Eun-ju, Arirang News.
In the U.S., with the recent dismissal of OpenAI's co-founder Sam Altman, the company behind ChatGPT, hundreds of employees are threatening to quit in protest and follow the former CEO to Microsoft. Our Song Yoo-jin takes a look at this major shakeup and how it'll impact the broader artificial intelligence industry.
The leadership shakeup at OpenAI, the American company behind leading AI chatbot ChatGPT, is facing a backlash. As of Monday local time, nearly all of the company's 770 employees signed a letter threatening to quit and follow ousted former CEO Sam Altman to Microsoft unless the board of directors step down. Microsoft, a close partner and the biggest investor of OpenAI, announced on Sunday that Altman will be leading its new advanced AI research team. Altman was ousted last Friday by the company's board of directors. Though the reason has not been made clear, the board's open letter said he was, quote, not consistently candid in his communications with the board. This ongoing turmoil is causing significant turbulence for the AI field. Analysts say although it's uncertain what will become of OpenAI, it's clear that Microsoft has emerged as the winner. It can now work with Altman and potentially hundreds of OpenAI scientists and developers without the oversight of the company's nonprofit board. This anticipation could be seen in Microsoft stocks on Monday.
I can't wait to see the movie version of this story because it was really a crazy weekend. But at the end result is that Microsoft stock is up because they are investing heavily and are committed to AI, and people like the growth prospects from that side of the business.
On the other hand, experts are painting a bleak picture of OpenAI's future. There are views that sustaining the company's success will be challenging if there is a mass exodus of employees. But an immediate reshuffling in the industry seems unlikely, as both Microsoft and OpenAI will need time to reorganize and rehire. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
Unless more is done about climate change, the world is set to warm by 2.5 to 2.9 degrees Celsius this century, compared to pre-industrial times. That's according to the latest edition of the United Nations Environmental Programme's Emissions Gap Report, which was published on Monday. This is above the goals of the 2015 Paris Agreement, which aims to keep the temperature rise below 2 degrees Celsius from pre-industrial levels if the 1.5 degrees limit target is to be met. The United Nations Environment Programme calls for all nations to accelerate economy-wide, low-carbon development transformations as the country's current emissions pledges would still put the world on track to warm by nearly 3 degrees Celsius by the year 2100. Samsung Electronics saw its global smartphone shipments drop in the third quarter, while its competitors Apple and Xiaomi saw theirs go up. According to market analysts for International Data Corporation on Monday, the South Korean tech giant's smartphone shipments dropped by more than 8% on-year to nearly 60 million units, despite the company occupying the top spot in the global smartphone market. With the decline in shipments, its market share also fell below the 20% mark from July to September. Meanwhile, Apple and Xiaomi, which came in second and third each, both saw their shipments go up around 2.5% compared to the previous year. Tomorrow, Wednesday, November 22nd, we celebrate Kimchi Day, and in light of this occasion, we share with you recent data that shows a record number of countries are importing this side dish. Jin has more.
South Korea's national dish, kimchi, is gaining popularity around the globe. The side dish, typically made from fermented cabbage, salt, and hot peppers, is eaten with nearly every meal in Korea. And its popularity is spreading around the world as data compiled by the Korea Customs Service showed on Tuesday that kimchi exports between January and October came to $130 million. That's a 10% on-year increase from the $118.6 million tallied for the same period last year. But also, the number of export destinations increased from 87 countries last year to 93 nations so far this year. By destination, Japan took up 40.5% of kimchi exports over the 10-month period, followed by the United States, the Netherlands, Britain, and Hong Kong. The global peak in interest for the side dish hit a record high in 2021, which was driven by increased demand from health-conscious consumers during the COVID-19 pandemic. And experts are suggesting that with the current trend, the annual kimchi exports for this year may surpass the record of $159 million set in 2021. November 22nd is celebrated in Korea as Kimchi Day, and this day has also been publicly introduced in 12 states or cities of the United States, including Washington, D.C., California, New York State, and Virginia, as well as other cities and countries like Argentina, Sao Paulo, and the Royal Borough of Kingston-upon-Thames in London. In the United States, passage of the House resolution that was introduced last April by Representative Kim Young and 14 co-sponsors aiming to officially designate November 22nd as Kimchi Day will be determined in a plenary meeting on December 6th. Jin, Arirang News.
Tonight, we deliver a story of a young Korean-American girl who has touched many people's hearts with a video of her making her own DIY kimbap at a school cafeteria in New York. Our Lee Si-hoo had a chance to speak with her about what it means to be embracing one's own culture.
Hi, my name is Avery. Here's what's in my lunchbox.
Meet Avery, a third-grade student in New York City. In a 1-minute video uploaded on the city's social media, she showed the world how to make one of her favorite foods, kimbap.
I put the seaweed on the foil, and then I usually just take the rice and put it on the seaweed and flatten it out, roll it up, and this is kimbap.
The video has over 7 million views from many who applaud Avery's confident spirit. In an interview with Arirang News, she shared more.
So I was at summer camp and I was waiting for my friends to come back from the big lunch line, and I was eating my lunch. And a grown-up walked up to me and she asked if they could film me about what's in my lunchbox because the mayor wanted to know what was in kids' lunchboxes.
On that day, she was about to enjoy her usual favorite lunch.
I usually bring Korean food for lunch, and usually it's kimbap. And my favorite Korean lunch is kimbap.
She's a third-generation Korean American.
My mom taught me, and I eat it a lot.
And the appeal of kimbap?
I just like the combination of pop and kim.
Not much has changed in Avery's daily life.
Like, I don't really talk about it with my friends. Like, they know about it, but we don't really talk about it.
But she's touched millions of hearts that have once been too shy to embrace their culture.
We're very proud, of course, and so happy that her video has brought so much joy to so many people. And we're just glad that it was able to, as many of the commenters have said, healed some of their inner childhood trauma that they faced when they were her age growing up and bringing their own ethnic foods to school.
She's very proud of being Korean. For special days, she dresses up in her hanbok when she did shows at school, and she'll wear it, and her friends are very enthusiastic about it. She has no shame. She's very confident about everything.
Thank you. 감사합니다.
이시후, 아리랑 뉴스.
Conditions will stay above the seasonal average tomorrow. Mild temperatures of 14 degrees Celsius will prevail for Seoul tomorrow daytime. But by Friday, a dramatic change will be seen, with a strong cold front delivering a hefty dose of frigid spells. Highs will be dropping by about 10 degrees down to 1 degree on Friday. In the meantime, the air is still dry across the East Coast. With gusty winds in the forecast at times, the risk of wildfire remains high. For tonight, eastern Gangwon-do province is under dry weather advisories. Due to stagnant atmospheric conditions, some regions will see poor air for the morning hours. For the Seoul metropolitan area and Chungcheong-do provinces, air quality will temporarily stand in the bad category. Make sure to wear masks that can filter out the dust particles. Morning temperatures in Seoul and Gwangju will be starting off at 5 degrees Celsius. We'll see more cloud coverage for the daytime. Highs in Seoul will get up to 14 degrees. Daejeon 16, Busan will reach 19 degrees. On Thursday, a low-pressure system will drop showers for central regions and Jeollado province. This weekend, frigid conditions are expected. It's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world. That is News Center for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.